We're back. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with the always lovely and talented Andrea Kay, the always incredible Urban Miaris, and we have our Women in Business segment this time. So welcome, Alexandra German.
Hi everyone, and I'm happy to be here. Lots of fun in the back room there.
The green room.
The green room, yes. And I'm here to welcome my guest today, Bethany Kelly, and she's the founder of Kelly Communications. We actually had a great discussion yesterday on the phone about what we're going to talk about. And Bethany is helping people to write their books, to get their book out of the head on the paper.
Oh, that's so hard.
So, yes, and
Maybe not for you writers, but it is for me.
But you know what? And I said, Bethany, I want to write a book, but I don't think I'm ready. And I loved the answer.
So nobody thinks they're ready. Nobody ever is ready to do anything, especially in something like writing a book. And the truth is that it's one of those things you just have to commit to and start. And you start and you don't feel ready, and you figure it out as you go. And as you begin to write the book, exactly what the book is supposed to be rather emerges in the process.
Well, can you imagine what the world would be like if we didn't have people like Bethany and everybody wanted to find a way to tell their story, but they had no way to coordinate it? So, this is a great business, a great opportunity, and I was really happy when Bethany agreed to come on.
And everybody has a story.
Everybody. Yes, speak of the devil, Mr. Urban.
Yeah,
so.
And some stories are more interesting than others, Urban. Okay.
I cannot wait for Urban's book.
I know.
Yeah.
You will not invite me back on the show if you knew the story.
Yeah, no. We'll just get on satellite radio where it's not G-rated anymore. Okay, Urban?
Well, and it's true that everybody does have a story, but very few people take the time to tell that story. And when you can take your story and put it into a book, the people that you can impact with that story is greatly increased. The circle of influence that you have is greatly increased. And people, when they read a book, they have an experience with that book. I don't know about you, but I love to read. And some of my best memories are having an amazing experience with a story in a book. And a story is so powerful. And it can impact so many people. And more people really should put their story in a book.
I loved it when I told you I want to write a relationship book and then a book about relationships, but I don't have it figured out and I don't want to give the wrong advice to people. And you said, while you're writing the book, you will figure it out. And I never thought about it this way.
It's interesting because you talk about a relationship book. I always laugh when I see, you remember Barbara DeAngelis?
Yeah.
From, I forget the name of her books, but I know Barbara because I opened up her first book when I was going through a breakup, and it was dedicated to my high school, okay? So Barbara went to my high school, and she's a relationship counselor, has a lot of great stories to tell because she's been through, 7 divorces?
Well, I don't know that I would want her advice, but, after that, but it'd make for a good read.
Well, she has the experience, I will tell you that.
How do you actually help people? What's the process in what you bring to people in telling their story?
So it's a really full process, and I take them through A to Z. And I've been doing this as my own business for the last 3 years, but I have a background in publishing for over a decade. I actually ran my dad's company, my dad's publishing and production company for over a decade, and have helped in many ways. And so it's really a full process. So sometimes people come to me and they're like, I have this idea of this book. I know I need to write it. I know I'm meant to write it. And they just come with the idea. So then the process is about taking that idea and turning it into a sellable book concept, organizing it, getting the content written, getting the whole book written, and then moving into the production phase where you're needing to do things like the cover, the titles, getting the interior looking good. There's a mass of logistics and details that go into actually turning it into a physical book. So we take people through the process, and sometimes people come to us with just the idea, and sometimes they come to us and they're like, I've written this book and now I actually, I've actually done the writing, and the writing is done. Now we just need to get it published, and we take it from there.
Do you edit at that point and help?
Yes, we do everything. I don't do everything myself personally, but I have a team that I work with, and we have editors, designers, ebook formatters.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's great.
It's a whole.
Well, the interesting part, just because I've been through this and I've consulted with Bethany on more than one occasion, is it's not about writing the book or getting the content together. That's a big piece of it, but it's what happens after you get all the content together. So tell us what you do once you have, the formula of the book put together.
You mean in terms of production or in terms of promotion?
Production. Well, production is number one. Promotion, where you get out there, all your, get out on Amazon. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, that's right. So it really is a process, and writing the book is the first step. And a lot of authors, they don't think about how they're going to promote the book or how they're going to sell the book before they start writing the book. And that's actually something you want to think about before you start, because promoting the book is something that should be done from the get-go, from the beginning. And once you get the book done, and then you actually are going to start selling it on Amazon, there are things that you can do to position yourself so that you can sell more copies, things that you can do to launch your book into the stratosphere, as it were, to make a big splash, to garner a lot of initial sales. And I work with my clients to do that. In fact, last year, 6 of my clients became #1 Amazon bestsellers in their category.
Great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now that means money.
That's right. That means money, and that also means exposure.
Okay.
And, people write books for different reasons. Sometimes people just have a story to tell. A book is an opportunity. Becoming an author creates opportunities that wouldn't exist, that you wouldn't have otherwise. So
Yeah.
It can be quite amazing.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping it's going to open all kinds of amazing doors for Boss Daddy over there with his book, which I have been waiting like a year and a half for.
I know.
Yay, it's finally here.
I can't wait to read it.
I know. Now, are there certain categories that you find, or certain types of books that are more successful, or that people, if somebody's out there thinking, I want to open some doors by writing a book, is there a particular type of book that right now is kind of the hot thing maybe they should strive for?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. I would say, though, that in terms of promotion, a nonfiction book is easier to sell than a fiction book, because your competition, the pool of books that you're selling it in, is smaller.
Seems like it's far more targeted.
Yes, you can make it much more targeted. And actually, the more specific a book is, the better you can do with it. So if you're writing a book about how to make money, that's just very broad and very general, and there's a lot of people that write books about how to make money. But if you, for example, were writing a book for single mothers on how to set things up so that they can take care of their families correctly, well, then you've just narrowed the target significantly. And so these kinds of questions and these kinds of things are things I help the authors with when they're getting started, because they're really important. It's key.
Yeah.
What about the auxiliary products? Like, for example, I know a lot of people, some people would write a book and then they would have seminars, they would have, workshops. Do you help with that?
Well, I definitely help in terms of developing the strategy for it. And like I'm always telling my authors, you don't write a book to sell a lot of copies to make a lot of money from the sales. What the book creates for you is an opportunity. And those opportunities, that's what brings you that's where you can really leverage yourself and your sales and things like that.
And that's when Urban's book will then have transported into a major motion picture. Right, and hopefully Barry and I will be in the later phases of the movie.
How many years I've been hearing this. It really slapped me in the face not long ago. A police officer in Las Vegas interviewed me a couple of years ago, and I didn't think anything about it. And his book just came out, and it's #1 in Amazon.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business here on KCBQ, streaming live at AM1170theanswer.com. Give us a tweet at CloseUpSD. Email me at barry@closeupsandiego.com, or find our page on Facebook. We want to hear from you. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with Andrea Kay, Urban Miyares, Alexandra German, and our guest is Bethany Kelly from Kelly Communications. So, one of the things, Bethany, that I think people don't know is the production of books has changed dramatically. Okay, so tell us a little bit about how, because we normally think, I remember some years ago I was working with, I forget who it was, but there was a book involved, and we were going to go over to China and make all these books and make it cheaper and what have you. The whole market has changed, hasn't it?
Absolutely. With the advent of print on demand, you can now write a book and publish it without having to pay for or print 3,000 to 5,000 copies. And you've heard stories about these people who've self-published and they have 3,000 books sitting in their garage. Well, that's no longer the case. You can print a book, and there are different services available now that you can print a book, and when someone buys the book, then the company prints the book and sends it to them. It's called print on demand, and it has really revolutionized the industry, and it gives authors who are self-publishing a lot more leverage because they don't have to create so many. They don't have to put out for all those many copies.
Mm.
Yep. No, it's a totally different business than it used to be, and it's interesting because I remember when I was doing a lot of public seminars back in the mid 2000s. I partnered with an author who wrote a book, and long after the book was called "Stop Sitting on Your Assets," and one of the key elements.
Ooh, I like that. That's clever.
It was. So in any case, she printed books by the thousands and had them on the shelves, and she was distributing through all the different financial planners. One of the key elements that she put into it, which was different than her competition because it was a nonfiction book, it was a how-to book, was, she made sure that she wrote it in 8th grade reading language. People get into finance, some people are just naturals there, and others are, just absolutely not a natural. So you want to have it so anybody can read it and get the benefit out of it. So I assume you use a lot of those principles in your writing as well.
Yes, absolutely. And, the kind of book that people really like to read is a book that tells a story. Who doesn't love a story, right? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of nonfiction books there's a lot of facts and information, and that can be very uninteresting to the reader. So when I'm working with people, I very often will help bring out their story and their flavor and exactly what they have to say, and it becomes very personal then when you read a book as a reader and you feel a connection to the author. Because you're touched somehow, or you are inspired, or you're angered, or in some way your emotions are moved by what the author has to say. That's very powerful. That creates interest. And in terms of people's story, like Urban was saying, you have a story, you can be sitting on it for a really long time. One of my authors had been sitting on her manuscript for 18 years.
Wow.
She had written a book and had been sitting on it, wanting to get it done, but just needed somebody else to help her make that happen. Wow. And it was so rewarding to be able to do that for
You're
her.
making dreams come true, because so many people dream of writing a book.
I know, and that's why I absolutely love what I do.
Yeah. Question, kind of maybe a sensitive subject, but what's your fee structure? Do people pay you for your time, or how does that work?
Well, it works differently depending on what someone needs, and okay. I like to target the specific needs that my client has, so that we can provide them specifically the service that they have. And in that way, I differ from a lot of other companies who do similar things to what I do. I like to provide a very high-touch, very personalized service where someone feels very supported throughout the entire process. Mm-hmm. And so depending on their needs and depending on what kind of book they're writing and where they are at in the process, we'll structure the fee based on that.
Yeah, because it just depends. Some people have a greater need than others.
That's right.
Some people need to be cradled from start to finish, and other people just kind of need the back end of the process.
Right. And I like to say that I provide the structure and support, both practically and emotionally. And, it can be quite an emotional process to write a book, especially if you're talking about something very personal to you, like your story. Mm. And so, not only do we provide the practical support, so like editing and making sure that, there's no spelling mistakes and that the content is quality and design and getting a good cover. We provide all of those practical pieces of support, but we also provide the emotional piece and some hand-holding and encouraging and patting on the back and making sure that people who really want and who are really committed to getting their book actually get it done and don't get stopped along the way by their fears or by their fears,
Yeah.
Well, one thing, we're running short on time, but I want to address one thing before we finish up. One of the big things that I've recognized since I met you is that it's no longer a market. I mean, the biggest seller of books in the world today is not the Barnes and Nobles of the world. It's Amazon.
Absolutely.
Everything's Amazon now.
Absolutely.
So when you put you don't just take your book and you don't just slap it on Amazon and hope people find it, because there's 50 million books on Amazon or something crazy.
At least.
So it's all in. This is part of your service. Is how to be seen on Amazon, just like if you want to put up a website and how you want to be seen on Google or what have you. So tell us just real briefly a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Amazon is a really big store, right? And just like any store, if something is selling well, the store will put it at the front so more people see it. So you want to do that, metaphorically speaking, with your book on Amazon. And I have in the course of the last few years of trial and error and a lot of research and a lot of reading, have discovered how to position an author's book on Amazon so that the Amazon engine starts working for the author and starts putting the book in front of more people. So becoming a #1 bestseller is part of that. Just expanding your visibility on Amazon and knowing how to work it so Amazon's algorithms pick up the book and start putting it in front of more people, and the other people who bought this. Other people who saw your book also viewed this book. You ever get the emails from Amazon? It's like, based on your searches, we think you might like these books. What an amazing opportunity that would be if your book showed up that way.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Heck yeah. So, hey, we are running short on time. Tell our listeners real quick, how do they learn more about you?
Wonderful. So I would love to get in contact with anyone who wants to write a book. The best way to get in contact with me at the moment is by email. And you can reach me at Bethany@courageouscreatives.com. That's creatives with an S. And I would love to have a conversation with you if you'd like to talk with me about your book project.
Great. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it, and we're going to do a lot of follow-up with you.
Yeah. Thank you, Bethany. You are very inspiring.
Great. Thanks, Alexander. Okay, this is Close Up on San Diego Business here on KCBQ, streaming live at AM1170, Send us a tweet at CloseUpSD or just find our page on Facebook. You can always email me at barry@closeupsandiego.com. Let me know what you think. I'm your host, Barry Waxler. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.